In part 2, we had seen that abnormalities in proto-oncogenes, oncogenes, and anti-oncogenes can transform normal cells into cancer cells. Proto-oncogenes are present in normal human beings. Some of them encode some growth factors. Others encode receptors for growth factors. And still others encode signal transducers for growth factors. The function of these proteins, growth factors, receptors, and signal transducers, is to stimulate cell division, to increase cell growth. As long as the proto-oncogenes are functioning normally, the rate of cell division remains normal and optimal. But a quantitative or qualitative abnormality in a proto-oncogene can result in excessive cell division, excessive cell growth, which can transform a normal cell into a cancer cell. The abnormality can be brought about because of insertion of viral DNA or viral genome into the DNA of the infected cell. So when an oncovirus infects a normal cell, the DNA of the oncovirus is inserted in the DNA of the infected cell. Sometimes even the viruses that do not possess oncogenes can cause abnormal expression of proto-oncogenes when their DNA is inserted in the DNA of the infected cell. As we have seen, some physical and chemical agents are known to damage DNA. They can cause mutations, and these mutations can occur in proto-oncogenes. Some of these mutations result in abnormally high expression of the proto-oncogene. The protein encoded by the proto-oncogene remains normal, but it is synthesized in excessive quantity, and this leads to excessive cell division. Sometimes the mutation leads to the formation of an abnormal gene product, that is, the protein encoded by the proto-oncogene becomes abnormal, and this protein, abnormal protein, causes excessive cell division. There are several mechanisms by which changes in proto-oncogenes can result in malignant transformation. These mechanisms include insertion of a viral promoter in the DNA, insertion of a viral enhancer element in the DNA of the infected cell, gene amplification, chromosomal translocation, a deletion of either entire gene or part of a gene, and a point mutation in a gene. The first mechanism is insertion of a viral promoter in the DNA of the infected cell. When a virus infects a human cell, the DNA of the virus is inserted in the DNA of the infected cell. And because of this insertion, a viral promoter element, a promoter element associated with a viral gene, may be placed just upstream of a proto-oncogene. As we see in this example, this is the viral promoter, and this has been placed just upstream of a proto-oncogene. So now this viral promoter will increase the expression of the proto-oncogene, and therefore the protein encoded by this proto-oncogene will be synthesized in excessive quantity. And excessive expression of this proto-oncogene, excessive formation of the protein encoded by this proto-oncogene will result in excessive cell division, excessive cell growth. A second mechanism is insertion of a viral enhancer element in the DNA of the infected cell. This insertion can place a proto-oncogene under the control of the viral enhancer element. So now this enhancer element of the virus will increase the rate of expression of the proto-oncogene, which is otherwise normal. So the protein encoded by the proto-oncogene is normal in structure and function, but the rate of synthesis of this protein is increased by the enhancer element of the virus. So we see here, this is the proto-oncogene, and this is a viral enhancer element which has been inserted in the DNA of the infected cell. So this viral enhancer element increases the expression of the proto-oncogene. The rate of formation of product encoded by the proto-oncogene is increased. The third mechanism is gene amplification. Amplification means preparing multiple copies of a gene. So because of gene amplification, if it affects a proto-oncogene, multiple copies of a proto-oncogene may be formed, and amplification of some proto-oncogenes has been seen in some cancers. For example, RB gene, MYB gene, and ABL gene are known to be amplified in some cancers. RB gene is amplified in epidermoid carcinoma. MYB gene is known to be amplified in colon carcinoma, and ABL gene is seen to be amplified in chronic myeloid leukemia or chronic myelogenous leukemia. So we have this proto-oncogene present in the DNA. Normally, for example, only one copy of this gene is present. When this gene is transcribed and translated, the normal quantity of the protein encoded by this proto-oncogene is formed, and this normal quantity of the protein results in normal cell division. But in this case, we see on the example on the right hand side, multiple copies of the proto-oncogene have been prepared, and because of this multiplication, the rate of synthesis of the normal protein encoded by the proto-oncogene is increased. So the protein is normal, but it is being synthesized in excessive quantity, and this will result in excessive cell division. Another mechanism is chromosomal translocation. Abnormal chromosomes have been seen in some cancer cells, and this abnormality can result from chromosomal translocation. A part of one chromosome migrates to a different chromosome. Sometimes this migration is reciprocal. That means fragments are exchanged between two chromosomes. Examples of reciprocal translocation are seen in Burkitt's lymphoma and in chronic myeloid leukemia. In Burkitt's lymphoma, the reciprocal translocation occurs between chromosome 8 and chromosome 14. Chromosome 8 contains a proto-oncogene MYC. When reciprocal translocation occurs, the MYC gene of chromosome 8 migrates to chromosome 14. Chromosome 14 contains the gene for heavy chain of immunoglobulins. Because of the migration of MYC gene to chromosome 14, the MYC gene comes under the control of enhancer element of the heavy chain gene. So the enhancer element of the heavy chain gene increases the expression of the MYC gene. So the protein encoded by MYC gene is synthesized in excessive quantity. On the top we have chromosome 8. This is chromosome 14. Chromosome 8 contains MYC gene. Chromosome 14 contains the heavy chain gene. Now there is a reciprocal translocation between these two chromosomes. The MYC gene has migrated to chromosome 14, and it has been placed just downstream of the heavy chain gene. Now the enhancer element of the heavy chain gene will act on the MYC gene, and it will cause excessive expression of the MYC gene. This MYC gene encodes a transcription factor which is known as P64, and this transcription factor increases the expression of a number of genes, and this results in overexpression of these genes, ultimately resulting in excessive cell division. Chronic myeloid leukemia is another malignancy in which reciprocal translocation is seen in many cases. In fact, in more than 90% cases of chronic myeloid leukemia, there is a reciprocal translocation between chromosome 9 and chromosome 22. Chromosome 9 contains a proto-oncogene which is ABL gene, and chromosome 22 contains a gene known as BCR gene, which is breakpoint cluster region gene. So a reciprocal translocation occurs between these two chromosomes. A part of chromosome 9 migrates to chromosome 22, and a part of chromosome 22 migrates to chromosome 9. The fragment which migrates from chromosome 9 to chromosome 22 contains the ABL gene, either the entire ABL gene or most of the ABL gene. In chromosome 22, the break occurs in the middle of the BCR gene. Now, the part which has migrated from chromosome 9 fuses with the major part of chromosome 22, and because of this fusion, the ABL gene fuses with the partial BCR gene which is still present on chromosome 22. So now we have got a fusion gene which contains most of the ABL gene and a part of the BCR gene. So we have this chromosome 9 having ABL gene. This is chromosome 22 having the BCR gene. The breakage occurs here in chromosome 9, the breakage occurs here in chromosome 22. This part migrates from chromosome 22 to chromosome 9. This part migrates from chromosome 9 to chromosome 22, and now this ABL gene is fused with a part of the BCR gene in chromosome 22. So now we have got an altered chromosome 22 in which a fusion gene, a gene formed by fusion of ABL gene and BCR gene, has been formed. ABL gene encodes a protein having tyrosine kinase activity, but this activity is normally switched off. The tyrosine kinase is not active. The tyrosine kinase becomes active only when a growth factor binds to its receptor on the surface of the cell. But the BCR-ABL fusion gene encodes a fusion protein which is not under normal regulation. The tyrosine kinase activity of this fusion protein is always on, even when the growth factor is not present. So this fusion protein increases the rate of cell division, and at the same time it also inhibits apoptosis. So this leads to malignant transformation, excessive cell division. Another abnormality that can occur in proto-oncogenes is deletion. Generally, the deletion is partial. So when a part of a proto-oncogene is deleted, the protein which is encoded by the proto-oncogene becomes incomplete, and generally it is an abnormal protein. An example of a gene that can get deleted is ARB-B proto-oncogene. Now, this gene is not a single gene, it is a family of genes which comprises ARB-B1, ARB-B2, ARB-B3 and ARB-B4. ARB-B1, which is also known as just ARB, encodes the receptor for epidermal growth factors. And like other receptors for growth factors, this receptor is also a transmembrane polypeptide. A part of the receptor projects outside the cell, a part is embedded in the cell membrane, and a part projects into the cytoplasm of the cell. The EGF binding site is present on the extracellular portion of the receptor. the portion which projects outside the cell on the surface of the cell. And the cytoplasmic portion of the receptor possesses tyrosine kinase domain. Normally, this domain is inactive. So we have this EGF receptor embedded in the cell membrane of the target cell. This is the extracellular portion. This is the portion embedded in the cell membrane, and this is the cytoplasmic portion. The EGF binding site is present on the extracellular portion. The cytoplasmic portion has got the tyrosine kinase domain, which is normally inactive. When EGF is not bound to the receptor, the tyrosine kinase domain of the receptor polypeptide is inactive. When EGF is secreted, it binds to its receptors on the target cells, and the binding of EGF to its receptors causes two neighboring receptors to dimerize. Two neighboring receptors come close and they get dimerized. And this dimerization activates the tyrosine kinase domain. So out of the two receptor polypeptides which are part of the dimer, the active tyrosine kinase domain of each receptor polypeptide phosphorylates the tyrosine residues of the other receptor polypeptides. So both the receptor polypeptides become phosphorylated, and this process is known as autophosphorylation. So the receptor gets autophosphorylated, and this phosphorylated receptor is the active receptor. This is the EGF present in circulation. This EGF comes in contact with its receptor on the target cells, and it binds to the receptors on the target cells. And when this binding occurs, this is an EGF molecule which has bound to its receptor, another EGF molecule which has bound to its receptor. And when this binding occurs, two neighboring receptor molecules or receptor polypeptides come close and they form a dimer. And when this dimerization occurs, the tyrosine kinase domain of each receptor molecule becomes active. And this active tyrosine kinase domain then phosphorylates some tyrosine residues in the neighboring receptor molecule. So both the receptor molecules become phosphorylated. This process is known as autophosphorylation. And this phosphorylated receptor is the active receptor. This active receptor then phosphorylates the tyrosine residues of some target proteins which are present inside this cell, and these target proteins then generate some signals that result in cell division. So this is how the target cell divides when EGF binds to its receptor on the surface of the target cell. When a part of ARB gene is deleted, the receptor which is synthesized is incomplete. So instead of a complete receptor molecule, an incomplete or a truncated receptor molecule is synthesized. And this truncated receptor does not possess the EGF binding site. The abnormal receptor or the mutant receptor gets dimerized even in the absence of EGF. So even when EGF is not present in circulation, two neighboring receptor molecules get dimerized, they phosphorylate each other, and the autophosphorylated receptor becomes active. So here we have these truncated receptor molecules. The EGF binding site is not present. And these two neighboring receptor molecules get dimerized and they get autophosphorylated even when EGF is not present in circulation, the receptor becomes active. And this active receptor molecule generates growth signals in the cell persistently, even when EGF is not present. And this persistent generation of growth signals results in unrestrained cell division, unrestrained and excessive cell growth. The cell becomes abnormal, the cell becomes a malignant cell or a cancer cell. Another abnormality in proto-oncogenes that can convert a normal cell into a cancer cell is point mutation. A point mutation is a single base substitution in a particular gene. So one base is replaced by another in a gene. In the example that we have here, this is the template strand of the gene having a particular base sequence. It has got a series of triplets. When this strand of the gene is transcribed, a messenger RNA having a complementary base sequence will be synthesized. So if the first triplet on the DNA is A, the triplet on the messenger RNA will be U, because U is complementary to A. And this codon U is the codon for phenylalanine. In this way, the remaining triplets on the DNA strand will be transcribed, a complementary messenger RNA will be synthesized, and then this messenger RNA will be translated to form a protein or a polypeptide having a particular amino acid sequence. But if there is a point mutation, a single base is replaced by another base in the same strand of the gene, what will happen? On the top we have the normal gene. When this gene is transcribed and translated, the amino acid sequence in the protein starts with phenylalanine, followed by tyrosine, then glutamate, and then glutamate again. But supposing there is a point mutation in the DNA. In the third triplet, this cytosine is replaced by thymine. So in the normal gene, the triplet is C, T, T. The codon on the messenger RNA will be G, A, which is the codon for glutamate. But in the mutated gene, the third triplet on the DNA is T, T, T. And when this is transcribed, the codon on the messenger RNA will be A, which is the codon for lysine. So the amino acid glutamate will be replaced by lysine as a result of the point mutation. So in this way, if a point mutation occurs in a proto-oncogene, it can cause the synthesis of an abnormal protein, a protein having an altered amino acid sequence. An example is RAS proto-oncogene. RAS proto-oncogene is implicated in several cancers. It becomes abnormal in several cancers. RAS is not really a single gene, it is a large family of closely related genes. This gene family has got about 150 members, and the base sequence of these members is highly conserved. It is very similar. The most prominent members of this gene family are HRAS, KRAS, and NRAS. The protein which is encoded by the RAS gene is known as RAS protein. It is also known as small GTPase, guanosine triphosphatase, or it is also known as P21RAS or just P21 protein. This P21 protein is similar to the G proteins which act as signal transducers for many hormones. The G proteins for the hormones are trimers, which are made up of alpha, beta, and gamma subunits, and The G proteins have a GDP or GTP binding site. When GDP is present on this site, the G protein is inactive. When GDP is replaced by GTP, the G protein becomes active. A similar thing occurs in P21 protein, but this P21 protein is not a trimer. The P21 protein is a monomer, but it has got a GDP or GTP binding site. Normally, this site is occupied by GDP or guanosine diphosphate, and the P21 protein is inactive. The P21 protein is part of a signal transduction pathway for a number of growth factors. When the growth factor binds to its receptor on the target cell, this binding causes displacement of GDP by GTP in the P21 protein. So GDP goes out and GTP comes in, combines with P21 protein. When GDP is displaced by GTP, P21 protein becomes active. That is, inactive P21 is converted into active P21. And this active protein, active P21, then sends signals to the effectors which are present in the target cell, and these effectors stimulate the cell to divide and to grow. So, the binding of growth factor to its receptor causes displacement of this GDP by GTP in the P21 protein, and this converts inactive P21 into active P21, and this active P21 sends growth signals which stimulate the cell to divide. But these signals, the growth signals, will be generated only as long as GTP is associated with P21. Like G proteins, the P21 protein also possesses inherent GTPase activity, guanosine triphosphatase. And this enzyme present in P21 itself slowly hydrolyzes GTP into GDP and inorganic phosphate, and P21 becomes inactive again. It stops sending growth signals. So when P21 becomes inactive, the growth signals are terminated and the cell stops dividing. However, the GTPase activity which is present in P21 requires a second protein to become active. So this second protein, which is required to switch on the GTPase activity of P21, is known as GTPase activating protein or GAP. So this GAP switches on the GTPase activity of P21, and this GTPase then converts guanosine triphosphate into guanosine diphosphate, and P21 becomes inactive again. So once this inactive P21 has been converted into active P21, it sends growth signals. But then this GTPase activating protein or GAP activates or switches on the GTPase activity of P21. This GTP is slowly hydrolyzed into GDP, inorganic phosphate is released, and P21 becomes inactive again. Point mutations can occur in the Res proto-oncogene, and these point mutations have been found in a number of different cancers. Most commonly, the codons which are affected by the point mutations are codon number 12 and codon number 61. A single base substitution in these codons causes a single amino acid substitution in the P21 protein. So one amino acid is replaced by another in P21 protein. The result of this amino acid substitution is that P21 loses its GTPase activity. So GTPase becomes permanently inactive in P21 protein because of the point mutation in the gene. And when GTPase activity is not present in P21, GTP, which has combined with P21, cannot be converted into GDP, and therefore P21 remains permanently active. It is locked in its active form. And since P21 remains persistently active, it continues to send growth signals to the effectors in the target cell even when a growth factor is not present. And this results in excessive cell division and transformation of the cell into a cancer cell. In this way, the abnormalities in proto-oncogenes that can convert normal cells into cancer cells can be quantitative or they can be qualitative. In case of insertion of promoter or insertion of enhancer or gene amplification or chromosomal translocation, the abnormality is quantitative. The product of the gene, the protein which is encoded by the gene, remains normal in structure and function, but it is synthesized in excessive quantities. And excessive quantities of this protein result in excessive cell division and transformation of normal cell into a cancer cell. In case of deletion or point mutation in the gene, the product of the gene, the protein encoded by the gene, becomes abnormal. It becomes abnormal in structure, it becomes abnormal in function, and this abnormal protein causes excessive cell division and transformation of the normal cell into a cancer cell. Oncoviruses, as we have seen, possess oncogenes. So when they infect normal cells, their genes, oncogenes, are inserted in the DNA of the infected cell, and these oncogenes are transcribed and translated. The proteins encoded by oncogenes are synthesized in the infected cell, and these proteins lead to excessive cell division, excessive growth of the infected cell. The infected cell is converted into a cancer cell. The oncogenes which are present in oncoviruses, as we have seen, they are very similar to the proto-oncogenes which are present in healthy human beings. In fact, these viral oncogenes are mutant forms. They are the mutated versions of the normal proto-oncogenes. So when a virus infects an animal cell or a human cell, the genome of the virus is incorporated in the DNA of the infected cell. And when this viral genome breaks out of the DNA of the infected cell, it can sometimes pick up fragments of DNA from the host cell or the infected cell. So it is possible that sometime in the past, some viruses picked up proto-oncogenes from human cells or animal cells. These proto-oncogenes then became a part of the viral genome, and they underwent mutations. They became abnormal, and in this way the proto-oncogenes were converted into oncogenes. The oncogenes, the mutant oncogenes, are not subject to normal regulation, and the proteins which are encoded by the oncogenes are also usually abnormal because oncogenes are formed by mutations in proto-oncogenes. So proto-oncogenes and oncogenes are very similar. There is only a small difference in the base sequence of proto-oncogenes and oncogenes. Now, one difference between these two is that proto-oncogenes are present in healthy cells, in human beings and in animals, whereas oncogenes are present in viruses, oncoviruses. And to differentiate between two similar genes, out of whom one is a proto-oncogene, the other is a oncogene, the letter C is put before the name of the proto-oncogene or cellular proto-oncogene, and the letter V is put before the name of the viral oncogene. For example, RES is a proto-oncogene present in human beings. RES is also an oncogene present in viruses. The human or the animal proto-oncogene is named as CRES, and the viral oncogene is named as VRES. In the next video, we will look at the role of anti-oncogenes or tumor suppressor genes. Thank you.